First of all, I think we're already seeing the preliminary moves with the fusion of crypto into the state to start making CBDCs. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the state made a deal with the Ethereum Foundation or something like that to essentially issue CBDCs on top of it. We've already seen them be captured with OFAC accords in the United States, and so that's deeply alarming to me. So essentially, within this framework, if you will, that we're trying to understand the essence of technology vis-a-vis Bitcoin, we can start to see that sort of invertedly that like if the essence is a means to an end, then central bank digital currencies are fundamentally about surveillance and control. Like it actually has very little to do with economic activity at all. And so essentially it seems the version that we're going to be given of CBDCs are it looks something very similar to Bitcoin, but the problem is that it's captured in a centralized way, that governments have full control over the issuance of the token, and that they can do whatever they want with that. So this becomes a much more powerful tool than any general form of money that's ever existed before, because now there's an entire purview into all economic activity that happens within the global economic system, and governments can also stop, reissue, and augment the system in any way that they please. And so this becomes very dangerous because, as we've seen many examples over the last 2 years of political speech, that if somebody says something governments don't like, they can essentially have all of their money robbed from them. And this is the direction I see most of the globe going currently.
Yeah, I do too. And it's a pretty concerning trend. That's actually why I escaped the open air prison in Australia with no intentions of going back, because, things can get pretty tyrannical, draconian, Orwellian in the digital age. In a podcast, I actually listened to a podcast you did with Alex Svetsky back in 2020, and it's a timeless podcast, that one. And you guys were talking about how the role of kind of statescraft might actually change in the digital age. Could you kind of talk a little bit more about that, and how, Bitcoin could potentially become its own sort of form of a state, and how warfare might occur between between Bitcoiners and the state in the digital age?
Yeah, I think that this is pretty interesting because Bitcoin's a real thorn in the side of the state in this whole new sort of global panopticon that they want to deploy, because there's no conceivable way that they can actually take control over the system. Even if they got a 51% attack, that could easily be Bitcoin could quickly modify itself in a way to cut out attacks like that. So I don't see any conceivable way that the state actually has to be able to beat Bitcoin at this point in time. So that essentially means that, if you can't beat them, join them. And we're already seeing with countries like El Salvador and some others that they're starting to adopt Bitcoin for themselves. And this then adapts the prisoner's dilemma of Bitcoin on the state level. And particularly now that we're seeing fiat currencies start to fail, people questioning about the idea of returning to hard money, this then puts them into an economic war against each other that I think Bitcoiners essentially have the upper hand on, because we don't have a currency that's constantly being debased and inflated. So I think that this is going to mean that, very large and powerful nation states that are generally financially imperialists, such as the United States, their power is going to erode dramatically, particularly with not having the power of the purse. And I think Bitcoiners are going to achieve some degree of self-sovereignty, even within their own nation states. And that being a Bitcoiner itself is almost going to be like this secondary layer of citizenship. So that maybe you can call on a league to assist you with different needs. Maybe there actually becomes a sovereign territory established somewhere. Maybe there becomes overarching leagues of different cities or nation states that work together. But I think more and more that actually holding Bitcoin is going to be this signal that you're a self-sovereign individual that can essentially switch sides whenever you want to. So if you're an Australian, your government's coming down on you, they want 90% of all of your Bitcoin in order for you to just live. You can actually say, you know what, go fuck yourself. Turns out that El Salvador is going to give me citizenship for a fraction of that, in addition to they're actually going to protect my rights. Or maybe it becomes Costa Rica. But the most important thing is that more and more people seeing and understanding having a money that no one can control for their own political purpose, particularly in our day and age, that actually becomes the most quintessential political question that there is. because in that contrast of having an apolitical money, that then presents itself as being the most political thing that there can be, because all nation states today want to control wealth so severely that just having an independent money actually creates an existential threat for their very existence.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's fascinating game theory, and it's game theory a lot of the guys in the economic space, there's a lot of the macro bros that you see trotting around on YouTube or Twitter. They haven't explored this game theory of what is Bitcoin going to do to the state. They just think of Bitcoin as this pet rock that's digital gold 2.0, and I think it's so much more than that. In an article, you go, jump in.
I was just going to add on to that I think one of the most important things, particularly with those individuals, is that and it's understandable as well, is that most people haven't engaged Bitcoin in a thoughtful way whatsoever. They literally relegate it as a pet rock and it's done with. And so there's never actually an opportunity for them to go, well, hang on. So if this thing truly is self-sovereign and there isn't a way for the state to destroy it, what does that mean? And I honestly think that 98% of people who have encountered Bitcoin have not had that thought process about it. And so all of that is cut off and unavailable for them because they just assume that the state can destroy it or it can be inflated or hacked. God, I hate that term.
Backdoor. The CIA put a backdoor in Bitcoin.
Yeah, and it goes to show that like there actually isn't a logical thought process that goes on towards understanding this technology. It's just it magically got hacked, whereas people who actually understand the code base, they look at it and they go, oh, there isn't, or at least seemingly there isn't a space available where something like that could happen or even be possible. So I just think that that's an important note to include, because I don't think anybody's actually, I don't want to say anybody, but I think the vast majority of most individuals, when they look at Bitcoin, they can't entertain all of the most important questions about it because they can't even get to that step.
Yeah, it's a lot of people just look at it through that one very narrow economic lens and framework, and I think it's wrong. Let's explore a really interesting idea and a different kind of framework, and one that I probably haven't considered. In an essay that you titled Crypto, Truth and War, this is a quote. You say, Bitcoin is an explicit military asset of war. Let's explore that quote. I think that's a really interesting rabbit hole. So there you have it. That's all we got time for today. If you want to read or watch a little bit more about Eric Kaysen and his amazing view for the future, there's a couple of different places we can send you guys. First place, if you want to read a little bit more, you can find Eric Kaysen's amazing essay titled Bitcoin and the State of Emergency in edition 3 of the Bitcoin Times. If you do want to get your hands on one of the only 2,100 copies of that collector's item that'll ever be printed, you will also get access to essays from some of the best writers in the Bitcoin space. We're talking about names such as Jeff Booth, Parker Lewis, Giacomo Zucco, Alex Svetsky. The list is endless. As you can see, there's a number of great articles in this puppy. You guys can get 21,000 sats off that puppy if you use promo code Mikic. That's my last name. It's spelled M-I-K-I-C. And the second place you can go to learn a little bit more about Eric Kaysen and watch a little bit more content just like this is over on the Money Matters YouTube channel. That is where the full 40-minute interview with Eric Kaysen is being posted, and if you do go over there and watch that interview, you will find a little special announcement surrounding Eric Kaysen's newest book. So with all that said, hope you enjoyed that one, and if you want to learn a little bit more about central bank digital currencies and the potential attack on Bitcoin that BlackRock represents, you guys can check out the video right there. And with all that said, I'll see you all in the next one.